And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Women of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling, and today we're talking about some very interesting things. Called it the pain of comparison. I will be talking about sleeping around. This might be to some of you a bit offensive because the things that I teach on this channel is very different from the mainstream. If you haven't noticed already, those of you guys who have not subscribed, you should subscribe and you should like this video in order for you to understand how important the things I talk about truly is. Like, you don't really understand before you've actually investigated this channel. It's gonna piss you off sometimes too, though. But that's how life is. Doesn't it piss you off sometimes? Fantastic. So, I'm talking to women here, but I'm also gonna talk to men who watch this video. Why should we not sleep around? What are the consequences of doing so to our long-term happiness? You should never try to do something for the short-term benefit while massively ignoring the potential long-term effects of those short-term decisions. And I want to specifically point out in terms of comparison. So, what is the purpose of life? I made a video. Check it out, The Purpose of Life Simplified for Women. But what did I speak about in that video? I spoke about how purpose of life is to have abundance and to have happiness and to have love, okay? And I'm talking true love, being in love, which is possible to have and keep for the rest of your life. And then also being able to feel special because you make other people feel special, etc., etc. That's the purpose of life simplified. And our entire goal of our existence should be to assist others to receive all of those things. To assist others to receive all of those things. Because if we do, then we have multitude of tons of people who are doing that back to us. Right? But we got to do that at the same time without becoming burnt, without losing trust in humanity, without losing trust in men, if that be possible. When you're in your teenage years and you're in your 20s, you have a desire to give something up. You know what it is. You want to give it up because you are a now creature. I'm talking to women now. And you want to sleep with someone. You want to have sex. It's part of your DNA. It's part of your genes. It's part of your, what you were meant to do. As a woman, as a now creature, this is how you feel, okay? So when a boy that is pretty handsome and has some of the qualities that you like in guys invites you to do that, and then you say no, and then he invites you continuously to do that again, and then you say no, and then he continues to do so, and you're kind of like, is he gonna leave me if I don't? And then you begin to entertain the thoughts, but it would be really nice, and I'm just a bit scared, and now I'm actually getting ready towards it, blah, 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 and then eventually sleep with the guy, right? And then you get royally disappointed, don't you? This is what happens pretty much 95% of the time. You get royally disappointed either from the fact that the relationship doesn't work out, or from the fact that the sex was kind of lackluster. And then you're kind of like, was that it? Are you serious? Have I been waiting all of this time for that? And then you're like, now it becomes a quest to you to figure out, is there more to this? Like, maybe I just am not experienced enough. Maybe there's things that I need to learn and do, and maybe I just haven't found the guy that I like yet. So, and maybe the sexual aspect is it is a crucial aspect of the relationship, so I need to try that out with every guy that I'm with in order to figure out if I actually enjoy that with him. Because I don't want to have a long-term relationship with the guy if he's bad in bed. Like, that's, I'm kind of getting into your head right now. You got to understand, the way that I look at things. I understand this. But what are the consequences of sleeping around with a multitude of guys in order for you to find your special someone? This is putting the cart before the horse. It's a very bad strategy. And you, unfortunately, are the ones that are going to suffer in the end. Having said that, we got to realize that it is never ever women's fault. It is not your fault as a woman having slept with a guy. How can you say that? You know, religion tells me that it is my fault. Everyone tells me that it isn't my fault. Blah, 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 blah. No. If men actually chose to keep it in their pants and never initiate any sexual relations with women, women would not be sleeping around. It is because of men and their leadership towards getting you, a feminine creature, to sleep with them. That's the man's fault. And the fact that he did that, it increases the likelihood that you will sleep with the second guy drastically. And then the fact that you sleep with the second guy increases the likelihood that you sleep with the third guy drastically again. Until you come to a point, an exponential growth curve, if you will, of massive misery and rejection and sadness from having slept with too many guys and being rejected so many times that you don't trust in guys anymore. You don't think that there is a guy out there. And if there is a guy, where is he? Where are all the good guys? The pain of comparison. It is always man's fault, but this happens. And if I can help you women to understand how crucial this is for your long-term happiness and for you to avoid long-term misery and making finding the one extremely difficult over time, maybe you can listen to my advice if you're unburdened enough and rationally get yourself to be voluntary celibate. It is a big decision, but that big decision will serve you very well if you apply the principles that are taught on this channel. So, let's say you sleep with someone. Okay, you get a boyfriend, and he has some strengths. He has some very important strengths. Now, all guys are going to have weaknesses. They're going to have issues, and they're going to fail, and they're going to make you miserable at times. Absolutely. Sure, they'll make you happy at times, especially in the beginning when, you know, in love phase and all that stuff going on. But eventually, they're all going to make you miserable unless they understand the certain principles that make you happy forever, which are taught on this channel. Again, subscribe so you can understand what those things are. Let's say this guy's strength is he's chivalrous, meaning he protects you and your emotions, and he makes sure that he doesn't reject you. He's a nice guy. That's his strength. Unfortunately, it doesn't turn you on though. So that guy maybe didn't work out. Okay, so you went over to the next guy. But you kind of like that aspect about that guy. You just weren't turned on by him. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I was turned on by him. I'm just giving you guys examples today, okay? Your guys' past experiences with boyfriends or whatever, there's going to be different things. I'm just giving you examples, and then you can look back at your past if you have slept around, and then you can kind of apply this to your life and see if it makes sense, okay? Let's say you move on to the next guy. And this guy, oh my gosh, he had the body of a god, okay? Like, oh my gosh, the six packs on that guy, and this and that and the other, his pecs and blah, 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 okay? Maybe he looks good, great, okay, but he sucked in other aspects. Okay, you move on to another guy because he did something, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just giving you guys the strengths of each individual. Another guy, maybe he was good in bed. Like he managed to fuel your desires and make it, you know, really steamy and whatever, but he just couldn't last. So he's like 3 or 4 minutes and then he's done. Okay? Maybe there's another guy who could last, but he was kind of boring and he was kind of slow and there's no steam involved and you're just kind of like, well, it's not really what I'm looking for, you know, like I'm moving on. This is not just going to be sexual things, okay? Like maybe there's another guy who had the amazing strength of having awesome intellectual conversations with you. Like in the sense, like every time he opened his mouth, it was just like, wow. I really love talking and listening to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. And I connect with him when he talks to me the way he talks to me, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Maybe another guy was a virgin. Maybe that's a strength. Who knows, right? Maybe that was a weakness in your eyes at the time. Maybe another guy was so good at giving you experiences, like fun things that you guys would do. Maybe he took you traveling, okay? And you guys had experiences like that. And he took you to a different country. You guys went on vacation and you came back. That was a strength. Like, he managed to make plans and make things exciting. Okay, and then you got another guy. He would give you small gifts here and there, you know, roses and stuff like that. And during the time when you were in love, you loved that. And there was no other boyfriends in the past that ever did that to you. Okay, so you were just like, wow, it's kind of nice. But then in the end, it kind of got too old and then you moved on. Maybe another guy had like perfect hair or the perfect face or perfect height, okay? Or he held your hand so perfectly. Like, whenever you guys held hands together, it just melted together. Your hands were just so beautifully meshed together, and it felt so right, okay? But then he had a lot of other crap, so there was another guy, okay? But this guy, he was loyal. That was his thing, okay? That he was extremely loyal. He didn't break up with anyone. Amazing strength. Blah, 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 okay? Understand that every guy will have his strengths. Of course, he's going to have tons of weaknesses as well, which is one of the reasons why you break up, because guess what? You're attracted to power. So power is basically his ability to do, his strengths, right? If he has strengths, then suddenly you're just like, whoa, you know? And if it's strength in the correct areas that you are very interested in, that increases the weight of you know, that you put in power in that guy, if that makes sense. Okay, so, but then when he fails and when he makes mistakes and when he loses his confidence and things happen in his life and he becomes sad, or you see him cry extensively, or he's depressed for a long period of time, or you guys always fight, whatever, eventually you get tired of that and he has all his failures. What am I trying to say here? What I'm saying is basically, in your brain, you're going to have powerful emotions when you have sex with all of these guys, okay? The more powerful the sexual experience, the more ingrained in your brain it's going to be. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, if you don't keep the guy, or if he leaves you, that's a very bad thing. If he sticks around, it's fantastic. You want to be, like, you want to have his face and his body and the experience he's given you. If he is the one and he's going to stick with you for life, you want that to be etched in your brain so that you are committed to this because you're obsessed with it, because your brain is connected to the memories that you guys have made together. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So when a woman sleeps with the guy, what ends up happening is that there's pretty much only 3 things that can happen. Either they stick together through thick and thin for life, and exponentially, hopefully, you know, life is amazing together. It might not be. But that's one option, that they stick it out for life. The other option, by the way, the one with sticking together for life thing, after you've slept together, it's very rare, actually, that you do. Like, we're talking, I'm making up statistics, but we're talking less than 5% for sure. What are the 2 other options? Well, the one option is that you actually sleep with him and it doesn't work out because of his weaknesses and his lack of confidence, his lack of power, and his lack of options many times, that you choose to, I'm not really interested. Can we just be friends? Right? That's one option. And then the third option is that he leaves you behind because either he cheated, which caused you to leave him, right? Or he just left and chose to be with someone else, or dumped you, or whatever it is that happened. There's only 3 options. And the one that happens the least is a girl and a boy, or a man and a woman, sticking together for the long haul. This is the one we want, but only if the guy is the right guy, right? The other 2, though, happens 95% of the time. This is why women get screwed over. This is why women stop trusting men. And this is why we get feminism. This is an exponential growth curve of the things that are happening in the world today, of women wanting to provide for themselves, not desiring provision from guys, not desiring protection from guys, because they've got their own jobs and they've got the government to protect them. Okay? Okay, going back to comparison. If you sleep with a guy and he has strengths, then you're going to remember that. And that's going to be your new measure for the specific strength that he had. That you're looking for a guy now who has at least the same strength as the guy that had the strongest, strength in that specific area. Like, for example, like I mentioned, being chivalrous or protecting. Like, you want a guy that is at least the same or better than the guy who was chivalrous and protecting of you. Does that make sense? Because he had a lot of other crap, but you want a guy who has high status or high power, high confidence in that specific thing. And you also do that with the second thing. You remember all the things that I mentioned, right? Which was amazing body of a god, good in bed but couldn't last, but he's good in bed. That's the next standard. And then the other one is like, he needs to last. Okay, so we need that too. And also, he needs to be able to have an intellectual conversation better than the guy who was extremely amazing at it, right? And then you need to have a guy who also takes you traveling and also gives you gifts, and better than those guys that took you traveling and gave you gifts, right? And then you need a guy who also has perfect hair, perfect height, and also where your hands melt beautifully together, and who's also loyal. Do you see what's happening with this picture? You end up elevating all of these strengths that all of these past experiences of guys have given you, and then you put on that expectation on the guy of your life that you want to have forever. Okay? So you're basically increasing the standard and increasing the expectation that you have of who you want to connect with and connect to for life. If he basically is inferior in any of these categories or strengths that your past boyfriends that you've slept with has or had, then how is that power? Because it's etched in your brain what you did with that guy and how well he did that specific thing. Do you see what I'm saying? The pain of comparison is that you're never, ever going to find a guy who is more amazing in every single strength that all of your past experiences and partners had. It's impossible the more sexual partners you get. Do you get my drift? Because all of them have different strengths. And you're trying to find this perfect guy who has all of these strengths and better than the guys that you've had. I'm really drilling this point down because this is what produces horrible long-term relationships where basically the guy that ends up committing to you or to someone who has slept with a lot of guys in the past, he won't measure up. He'll never measure up. Especially in the case of monogamy, because monogamy is designed for the woman to have all of the power in the relationship. Spoken about this before, and I repeat it again. Women need the man to have the power in the relationship in order for her to be turned on by him. That's what she's turned on by. The inequality or polarity in the relationship. If she's extremely masculine, she's going to want a guy who's feminine because he's submissive. They can work together. They actually get along because he's feminine and he takes all of the blame. And he basically does what she thinks is best because that's what's best. That's not really a turn-on factor either, is it? Because the moment you have issues, he becomes powerless, right? And then you begin to resent him and hate him for it, even though that's the only person that you're compatible with because you are burdened. Again, I repeat myself, this is not your fault. This is the fault of all the guys that went to bed with you and led you to sleep with them. Okay? And yes, you agreed. Yes, it was consensual. Whatever, whatever, whatever. But it's not good, right? Should they be penalized for it? No. No. Okay? You guys agreed. It was consensual, whatever. But it still has long-term consequences. And the consequence is you not having the ability to fall in love, but more importantly, to stay in love with the guy of your choice. We need the science of falling in love and staying in love forever. There is a science, and I'm going to make a video on that on this channel. Make sure you subscribe and like this video if you want to hear about the science of falling in love and staying in love. Do you guys, I hope, if you have any questions, comment down below, because I want to make sure that you guys understand this. I want to make sure that guys understand this, that they're literally screwing up women and then screwing up their future man, okay, that woman's future man, because he can't ever live up to all of the strengths of her past partners, okay? And because that relationship doesn't work very well, that person who slept with that girl and who, you know, something happened and the relationship didn't work out, he's also screwing over her children and their children and their children and their children and their children until someone comes along and breaks the chain. Okay? Well, what's the opposite? What's the how could we make this as good as possible? Okay. Oh, well, the best thing would be if you have nothing to compare with, right? The more people you have to compare your future one person with in the future, the more partners you've had in the past, the worse it gets. Okay? The more issues the woman will have in the future as a result. This massive amounts of scientific studies on this, and if you don't understand this, then I highly recommend you do your own research and figure out what happens when women sleep around with a lot of partners. The probability of divorce increases dramatically. Okay? What are the best monogamous relationships? Where both are virgins. Why do you think that is? Is because they've avoided the pain of comparison. Now, obviously, they probably dated in the past, whatever, but they didn't link together sexual experiences with boyfriends who left them, okay? Like, very often a woman can manage to go unscathed, okay? Meaning without much issues if she's the one that dumps the guy. But what if she doesn't want to dump the guy? What if she actually likes the guy? If she dumps the guy, then she doesn't really have much issues. She doesn't have much problems with it. She can easily get over him, and she moves on to the next guy. But if you like the guy, there's a problem. You can't control whether you're attracted to this guy or not, and whether you want to leave this guy or not. He can, but you can't. This is unequal. It is. The universe designed it this way. Okay? So, that's basically it. So what do I recommend for those of you that are not virgins? Well, even to those that are virgins, I don't recommend monogamy. Because you'll still have the same problem there in terms of losing attraction towards your guy. Very often, this is what happened with virgin relationships. Where the woman is a virgin, she enters into a relationship with a guy, and then she's in the relationship for 2 or 3 years, whatever. Maybe she keeps on going, and there's a lot of you. There's of those that are virgins, there's a lot of them who just stick it through. Amazing, okay? But there's also a lot of virgins that have the thoughts of, what if I had sex with someone else? Like, I mean, could it be greener on the other side? And why is she thinking like this? Because there's no other woman who's interested in her man. That's one. And number two, she thinks like this because she hears about her friends having several partners. And then she hears about, you know, the movies. And then the shows that she watches. And then she watches, you know, sees social media, etc., etc. And she's like beginning to wonder, is it greener on the other side? And then she makes a decision, or maybe there's a breakup of some sort. Maybe it wasn't even her fault. Maybe something happened or whatever. It's never her fault, by the way. And they're not together anymore. Very often that virgin is gonna sleep around with a lot of guys. Why? Because she's now have wondered if she missed out. And then she sleeps with a bunch of guys, and then she finds out that actually that wasn't the best strategy. It actually was very, very worse, very much worse than her last strategy. So what do I recommend? I recommend for all of you to be voluntary celibate for a time. Be voluntary celibate until you understand female nature, your own nature, until you understand hypergamy, until you understand your need for having other women in your life that you share your man with, your best friends. Whoa, what are you talking about, Joseph? Again, let me explain. 1 man, 3 women. Why? Why 3 women? No, I loved everything you shared with me up until this point. What are you talking about? Remember the thing that I said about men taking the blame? It's amazing when men take the blame. When they take the blame, you know what happens? You can basically let go. You can actually surrender. Because him taking the blame and being willing to improve and willing to learn, willing to work on his issues and become better and better and better and better over time, that's great. But he needs to have some motivation for taking that blame and then for continuously improving himself, even though you bitch at him and basically make him feel inferior all of the time compared to everyone else out there. Okay? Men need other women. Okay? But let's not think about them for a second. Let's just bring this back to you. What do you need? How will you stay in love with this guy if he continuously takes the blame? The moment he takes the blame, he admits guilt. He admits fault. He admits failure, which means that he's powerless now. You look down on him. You have to look up to him in order for you to feel anything. And if you don't feel anything, the relationship is over. Finito. If you have your best friends there, and you guys are living in a harmonious relationship together, and you're all committed to the same cause, to the same family, to the same man for life, this is what happens. You guys literally edify the same man to each other on a daily basis. You're basically giving him power in the relationship, even though he takes the freaking blame. It is insane how the system works. He takes the blame, and then you give him power. As long as he's a trustworthy guy, nice guy, interesting. You're saying that you can actually make a nice guy appealing to me and attractive to me? Yes. That's the science. I could have made a whole new video about it, but I'm just spitting the facts right now. I'm giving you the information you need. You need other women in your life so that you can enjoy your life and not make your man a girl. And you need to allow your man to go out there and to chase his dreams from a business and financial perspective and give you the luxuries of life. Give you, all 3 of you, the luxuries of life and a harmonious relationship because he takes all of the flippin' blame. This is extremely simple, guys. Life is simple. It's just us who make it complex. That was Confucius or something like that. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that you got a lot out of this message. I hope that you understand the dire consequences and the pain of having slept with many guys, but understand that there's a solution. And the solution is 3 in love. The solution is falling in love and then staying in love. Not falling in love and then falling out of love and then, oh, I wonder how it was to fall in love again. It's so long since I fell in love. I want to date someone new. And then you date someone new, you fall in love, and then you fall out of love again. Serial monogamy. How many times do you want to do it? It's ridiculous. Why don't you want just the man, one man, to stick? Okay, and for those guys of you out there, you men out there, understand these principles, and it will make you extremely happy. And it will make a much better world. But you got to be wise about it. You got to understand the principles behind it. I love this system. I love this concept. I love sharing it with people because it's going to revolutionize the world. This is just the beginning. It might take 200 years before the whole world applies it. But eventually, everyone will come to a knowledge of the truth. And the truth is that which works in the long run and in the big scheme of things. If something does not last, it is not based upon principle. It is not based upon truth. All right, let's see Tamra's question, or should we say comment. Yes, this is our reality. We want to take the one good quality from each guy we've been with and create the perfect guy who doesn't exist. However, you can make any guy into a perfect guy. This is the Women of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I'll see you in the next